Hey everyone, Jack Keeper here, and today I thought it'd be kind of fun to explore another Arch-based distro called Reborn OS. Reborn looks really kind of interesting to me. This is an OS that lets you configure what you want before you actually get everything installed. I'll make that a little clearer in a minute. But here on Reborn OS, this is an OS that gives you a lot of different choices. Over 10 different desktops are available that you can choose from right at the installer. And so as you can see here, we got KDE, Gnome, Deepin, Budgie, Cinnamon, Mate, OpenBox, i3, XFCE, Enlightenment, or LXQt. So that's really interesting. I like that. And there's 30 optional features here that you can choose from. And even WPS Office is in the mix there. Yes, this looks really interesting. All kinds of choices. I like choices. And so I really haven't been in here yet. So I'm just ready to jump down the rabbit hole. And if you want to jump down with me, let's explore this thing and see what we got. So I'm going to hit the download button here. And it takes us to a page here. It says new installer available 20.12.28. Looks like here's our download link. So if you go here, the official download sites, hit the OSDN. And it looks like they have a newer version. So that's cool. I think they were saying 20.12.28. So this is actually 2021 1.16. So that's much newer. And I see they have a torrent available. That's a big plus. I like torrents because I get quicker downloads with the torrents. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. And then we'll get our torrent and jump in. So I'm just going to pause this real quick while I download, and then I will load it into a virtual machine and we'll check it out. All right, and now we got this loaded into my Virt Manager. This is what we see when we first come in, and I noticed here on the boot menu, I like this. It's got boot Reborn OS and also an option boot Reborn OS after install. So if you left your CD or your USB stick in your computer, then that's okay because it'll give you an option to hit the after install, and then you can go into the OS instead of back into your image. So that's really cool. I like that. Nice touch. I'm going to go ahead and jump back in here. And let's take a look at what our live version looks like. So this is just going to do its thing here. And yes. All right, and there we are. If I remember seeing on the website there, this is actually the Gnome Desktop, and it's using the dash to dock extension here. And I also noticed on the website that they had mentioned that if you install the Gnome Desktop, it used to be that the dash to dock along with a couple other extensions were installed by default. So you kind of had this look when you went into Gnome, but they stopped doing that pretty much for the same reason I stopped using Gnome. And that's because whenever Gnome would update to a new version, then it would break the extensions and the extensions wouldn't work anymore. So that was my issue when I had dash to dock, and eventually extensions like put icons on your desktop and all that, that stuff would break when there was a version update. And so then I would lose all that until the developers got around to fixing their extension. So looks like here, like I said, and wow, that background's really cool. I love that Easter Island wallpaper there. I think I'm going to keep that when I install it. So, but let's go ahead and install. Now this is the Cinchi installer, so it's a little bit different than the installer that you see with a lot of distros, which typically use the Calamares installer. So this ought to be cool because if I remember right, I've used this Cinchi before, and it does give you a lot of options right out of the gate. In fact, a few years ago I used Antergos Linux, and Antergos had the same Cinchi installer and let you kind of choose as you went. And this is kind of what it reminds me of, which is one of the things that kind of appealed to me. So let's move on forward. And I'm going to stay with the defaults here. So it's telling me that I meet all the requirements. And let's change our English to United States. And let's see, I live in the jungles of Borneo, so I gotta go. No, I'm just kidding. So New York looks like the closest to my location. I'm gonna go ahead and choose that and then move forward. And that's all good. Here's where we can choose from our desktops. Wow, so many choices. And what to do here. KDE, of course, seems like the natural first pick, but why don't we choose something that I haven't messed with yet? Just to make it a little more interesting. Actually, Cinnamon and Budgie are two that I haven't really ever played with. There's Budgie. Cinnamon. Yeah, that looks a little prettier. Maybe we'll try that. So let's give Cinnamon a try, just for fun. So let's go ahead and move forward. And here's where we can pick our packages, pick and choose. This is cool. It starts off, I guess, by default with a pretty vanilla set of choices. So you can start kind of from scratch and then go up. Nice. And show advanced features. What's that? Let's check it out. Okay, so it added some driver support there to install like maybe a proprietary driver. So here we got, let's see, applications to perform system maintenance. Okay, bleach split, stacer, time shift, Reborn OS recovery. That looks worthwhile. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. AUR support is enabled by default. I like that. Bluetooth support. Typically I would use that because I have some Bluetooth headphones. I guess I'll just put it in there. Chromium web browser. Yes, I guess that's a winner. Why not? Then we have our common photo editing programs. Linux such as GIMP, GT-Thumb, Rapid Photo Downloader, Raw Therapy, and Darktable. Okay, why not? I'll throw that in there. Now we have our common video apps. OpenShot, Kdenlive, PitV, and AVI Demux. Those sound pretty good too. Although I'm a Shotcut user myself. I do like Kdenlive, but Shotcut's a little more intuitive for me, and I can work faster in it. I'll just put it in there anyway. Maybe Shotcut's included, and they just didn't mention it. And we have Thunderbird for our desktop client, which I won't need. Firefox Developer Edition, that's interesting. Yeah, nice. And then we have Firefox enabled by default. Then we have FreeOffice, Google Chrome. So if you prefer the actual Google Chrome rather than the fork, then he got an option there. Nice. An option for the LTS version kernel. Cool. And then popular games for Linux. Why not? I'm not really a time waster, but be nice for curiosity's sake. Run Windows programs on Linux. Oh, cool. Okay, so this is probably Wine. Let's go with that. Oh, and additionally, it comes with Play on Linux and Lutris, both installed for you to make even more troublesome games possible on Linux. Okay. Spotify, Steam, and Play on Linux. So yeah, if you're really gaming enthusiast, it really has some nice things in here to kind of perk things up for you. And Play on Linux is really a great option anyways. I like Play on Linux. Let's stick it in there. Why not? It's going to make my install longer, but what the heck. DLC, I think I'll put that in there. Wallpaper Cycler that changes your wallpapers every day. Fascinating. Although I like keeping my papers intact, but I like that. This is nice. I think this was under, that looks like probably an advanced feature. Samba, that's really cool. So if you want to share files between computers, especially like Windows, Samba will make that easy. And then WPS Office, which I'm going to go ahead and use because I really like WPS Office. And I typically use that anyways. So now that we got our programs selected, let's move on. Now we have a disclaimer here. Just a little standard disclaimer that you typically get. And I like having the AUR option because sometimes things are not available in your community repository, so it's nice to have an AUR to fall back on because it is like the mega site. Now here it's asking for a cache partition to make your install go quicker. Well, let's see what we have here. So we have our virtual I/O block here, which is our virtual hard drive. However, it says if you that you cannot use the same partition that you're installing your OS on, and whatever you put it on, it's going to fully delete the contents. So I guess I'm just going to leave that at none. But I guess if you had, like, say, a blank USB drive, that would probably work fine. But I don't think that's going to be a big deal. So onward and upward. How would you like to proceed? Let Cinchi sort the mirrors list? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave that at default. Let Cinchi sort. So let's move on from there. And then our options here, just going to let it go ahead and erase the whole disk and auto configure everything. Oh, this is nice here. I like this. Set your home in a different partition or volume. Very cool. Now this is what I would normally check here. That's nice that they give you that option right here at the get-go. I like that. Typically I have a separate partition where I keep my home folder. That makes it a lot easier if I ever had to do a full reinstall of my Linux, or for some reason I just wanted a different distro. I would still have my home folder here. So that is cool. Okay, so I'm going to remember that in the future. And now it's just kind of giving us our standard warning that we are going to erase your drive. So whatever you had on it, it's going to be history. That's okay. Okay, now let's go with, this is going to be like a friendly name that'll show up at your login screen. So, how about Bart Simpson? Yes, now you know my real name. Jack Kiefer was just a pseudonym. And for a computer name, guess we'll call it Toadwick-PC. And then I'm going to use Toadwick as my username. And then just any old password will do, I guess. And it also has a login automatically option there, so that's nice too if you don't like to log in every time you start your computer. So now here we have an installation summary of everything, and we have our Cinnamon desktop for our environment, and then our location, time zone, and keyboard is all cool. And now a list of the things that we had selected for install, which all looks good. AUR support, printing, Chromium, Firefox, all this good stuff, WPS Office. Well, that all looks good. I like it. And then we have our partitions, a little summary here, and that's always a good thing to overlook, especially, I mean, not to overlook, to look over, because, for example, especially if you have your home on a separate partition and you check the box there, you want to make sure that it's not going to say in here that the home partition is going to be formatted or some crazy thing like that. So then you lose all your stuff. So you want to always just kind of take a look at this and make sure it's all good, especially if your home partition's on a separate drive or partition. Okay, are you really sure? No, I did all this for nothing. Of course I'm sure. So let's hit yes. All right. And so now it's going to do its install, and it's probably going to take a little while because it's got to download the packages that we had checked there. So we'll kind of see how long this takes to actually do the install. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and we'll be back right after the install. Okay, and we're back, and it looks like that took about 32 minutes. So it took a little while. Part of that, I think, was because I'm in a virtual environment and got other resources going on here. But your mileage will vary depending on what you chose, and of course your internet speed and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes to restart our system. And so now it's going to go ahead and restart. So we should come back to our thing here, and I'm going to go ahead and choose after install because the CD, well, virtual CD is still in there. So we'll go ahead and hit that and jump into our system. All right, and there's Bart Simpson. Cool. So we'll go ahead and sign in. And we have our desktop. We got to check your video drivers message up here, and that's because I'm running a virtual environment, so it doesn't really understand my video drivers. I probably could change that in my VM configurations, but it's really ignorable. So we'll just jump out of there. At least I hope it's ignorable. We'll find out. And here we got an option to add Flatpak to our repository, so I guess that's okay. We'll go ahead and do that. And we'll just kind of log in there, or give it the password. And there we go. Okay, let's go shopping. Nice. And I think the first thing I'm going to do after I just confirm this, okay, so is I'm going to adjust my resolution. Software repositories, and there's our FlatHub enabled, so that's enabled. Cool. So I guess that worked. We'll jump out of there. And now we can remove that from startup because we got our repositories added. By hitting remove from startup, it'll prevent that from coming up again at next boot. All right, so I don't know my way around this, so I'm assuming that probably we could maybe go to customize. How about desktop settings? Nope, but since we're here, might as well turn some of these on. Computer, maybe trash. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm going to jump into my settings over here, probably from the menu here. Here we go. Our little control panel icon. We should be able to get in here and then scroll down a bit. Here we go, display. I'm going to go ahead and change this real quick just so we have a civilized resolution here. There we go, much better. All right. Cool. Now let's continue on. So let's take a look at our desktop backgrounds. I think I'm going to put that cool Easter Island one on there. I like that one. We'll go into backgrounds. And it's not there. What? Well, they tricked me. This is an insult to my greatness. All right. Time to call out the enforcers. Mo, take care of them. Oh. There. That'll fix you. Have some of that. Let that be a lesson to you. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab that background. And I know a trick to get that. So I'll show you real quick. And I'm going to boot into the live version again real quick. Okay, I'm back in the live version. So just in case you want to be able to grab this wallpaper, I know a trick to get this. And so let me just close this. All we really got to do is go into our file manager here. And then we can go to other locations, computer. And then we want to go to our user folder, USR, and then share. There should be like a wallpaper backgrounds. Here we go. So user share backgrounds. And then, oh, that's the nice one too. And then we go into our GNOME folder. And there it is. More than one way to skin a cat. Now to get these, of course, we want to just pop in, like a thumb drive. Of course, if this is on a live computer, you could just, under other locations, select your drive that you're installed on. But since we're in a virtual environment, I'm popping in a Win10 PE drive. So let me go ahead and open another tab. And then this will be my U drive tab here. I'm going to go ahead and grab all three of those guys. And now I'll do a Control V and paste those guys in. There we go. I kind of like that Japanese one too, so I'm going to go jump up a level here and grab this one too. So Control C, Control V, paste that in. So now we got our wallpapers. Nice. I don't know why those were missing in the actual install, but that'll solve that problem. I'm going to go ahead and jump back out of here and then go back into our desktop. Okay, so we are back into our original install, and so now let's go add those wallpapers in real quick. I'm just going to open up my file manager here and then Control T to open another tab here. So our first tab will go ahead and go into our thumb drive, and we'll just grab these guys and then do a copy and paste it into, let's put it in our pictures folder just for the sake of demo. Nice. Okay, now we can change our background, and I'm assuming we can select, yeah, there it is, cool, pictures folder. Nice. Very cool. All right, and let's look at this Japanese lake too. Wow, that's really cool too. I like that. I might actually ultimately use that background maybe. But for now, I think I'm gonna kind of use this Easter Island one. That's cool. All right, so there's our background. Thought you could keep that from me, did you guys? Okay, so now let's take a look at the file manager since we got that open. So it's using Nemo. All right, and nice looking file manager here. So let's jump in our settings again and see what else we got to play with here. So here's our system settings, and we already did our background, so let's look at effects. These are our Windows effects, dialog boxes, menus, effect style. Cool, very nice. And you can even customize your settings, it looks like, for more advanced little tweaks there. So our next one, let's go to font selection, and so there's our default fonts where you can change them if you like. They look pretty cool to me. Here we got our themes, and so here we can change our Windows borders up here. Let's see what kind of choices we got. Nice. All right, let's see what a dark border looks like. Yeah, I like that better, so I'll go with that. Then we have our mint Y icons. So yes, very minty looking actually. Really, you know, cinnamon is what mint is all about. So, except in this distro, you have the coolness of mint with the benefits of Arch. I like it. Wow, you got a lot of choices of icons too. And I'm also impressed that they didn't default to the Adwaita, which a lot of distros seem to do, and I just don't really like. That doesn't really look good in my opinion. But look at all these. This is really great. So you have a lot here by default that you can kind of go with. Nice gradients there. And instant update in the file manager, so I like that. Very cool, yeah. That looks nice too. I like that. There's kind of a Windows look, if you kind of like more of a Windows-ish. Except it's actually prettier than a Windows. So yeah, these are great. Wow. How cool is that? Red. I like that. Red looks cool with black. I've always liked that combination. Yeah, I think I'll leave it red for now. And then different choices for our controls. So yeah, really a lot of things. You could spend a lot of time playing with all the different stuff in here, and even change your cursor. And it looks like right now by default it's just Adwaita. And then we even have desktop configurations. Wow. So you can really kind of change your overall desktop theme if you like. Huh. How cool. So that's kind of like a purpley. Wow, that's cool. Was that purple? Dark pink. Yeah, I like that. That's really nice. What a nice touch. I gotta say I'm pretty impressed with Cinnamon so far. And speaking of impressed with Cinnamon, let's just kind of see if HTOP is on here and see what our resources are like. I know I got a couple things open right now, but not found. Okay. Let's see. Let's just grab it real quick. Yes. And as you can see, we're already up to date because everything downloaded from the internet when we did the install. So that's one less step we got to do when we start up into our new install. And so there's our HTOP. It's showing about 905. We got other things open here. Probably if we close these guys, it's going to jump back down. Okay, so now we're right around 815. 789 megs. So yeah, that looks pretty good actually. I would say that's probably for Cinnamon Desktop. That looks like a pretty good baseline there of a typical Cinnamon install, I would say. So not bad. So just jump out of there. And F10 is not going to do it, so I'll just do oh, here we go. F10, yeah, I thought that's what I hit. Okay, well, for some reason F10 isn't hotkey in there, so no big deal. I'll just Control C and jump out of there. And so let's go back where we were temporarily. So system settings, I think it was. Nice, yeah, that's another shortcut. Before I went into this menu, which is a nice looking menu by the way, and I just hit this little control panel thing, but you can also right click on your panel and hit system settings and get here the same. So nice. And then under preferences we have our accessibility, and then under account details I see where you can change your picture. So I could give myself a default picture or put my own one in there. Since I don't really have anything on this, there's really nowhere to browse, but I suppose if I wanted to, let's just see what would happen if we took one of these guys and just opened it. Oh wow, okay, so it just does the whole thing. I wasn't sure if I was gonna, like, you know, get an option to select a section of it or what, but yeah, that's cool. So I'm torn between baseball and guitar. Wow. I will go with baseball. Nice. Okay, and let's see what applets are. So these applets are things like our calendar, display, expo, favorites, grouped window list. So I'm thinking that these probably go down in our panel. I'll just hit something here just to see where it goes. Again, I'm kind of ignorant with, oh, and it's got your settings here. So yeah, I would say these probably go into your panel. Thumbnails. Go thumbnails. Yep. Okay. You can even set your size. That's cool. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that goes into your panel down here. So if I were to just add that, I guess. Yeah, then it shows down here. So we already have our group window list here. And I see also that it shows Windows previews. I like that. Cool. It's a nice touch. I'm going to go ahead and take that back out of there now that we know what that is. Duh, I didn't want to remove all of them. What? Okay. Let me add that in again. And then we'll just jump over here. Hit panel. Then I think since we're in edit mode, maybe we might be able to just grab that. Maybe drag it over. Or not. Here, if we want to add a button label, we could do that. If you like the kind of the traditional thing here, you could put in like application name. Nice. And then you got your labels. So So that's kind of cool. I like that. I just don't know how to move that back over where it was. I would guess that I could probably come down here and do something like panel edit mode. And then there's probably an option where I can maybe drag these guys. Or not. All right, and typically I could look like I'm a super genius and just pause the video and then figure it all out and then come back and say, oh, I know what to do, and just do it. But I kind of like you seeing the process, because if you're new to this environment, then it helps you better understand how easy it would be to try to figure something out as you explore something new. And so I kind of like to share that with you rather than just kind of pausing and try to make myself look good. So yeah. So I'm thinking that there's, something in here that kind of shows you the list. Like here in edit mode, I think really there's just move. There we go. I totally missed that before. Oh no, that move is for the panel itself. I was thinking in XFCE, you can hit move and then, mouse over the applet. I know there's a way to manipulate those and slide them to one side or the other, but right now I just don't know what that is. So for the sake of brevity, let's just move on. Oh, and let's jump out of edit mode. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, and then here's our time zone. We can set our clock for 24 hours, which is there by default. I like that. I kind of prefer a 24-hour clock. Cool. And then we have Desklets. Let's see what that is. Clock, photo. This is probably equivalent to like a widget in KDE Plasma. And so I paused my video for a second, or actually a few minutes here, because my furnace kicked on. And so I wanted to spare you all from the background noise. Like I was saying, these are, I think, like widgets in Plasma. So let me see what would happen if I hit this guy. Wow, okay, so put the clock up here. And you can move it around. I like that. Nice. Very nice. And then you can get your own custom ones here, it looks like. I got a cache message, so let's go ahead and update that. I like the idea that you can go, I always like this when you can download stuff. There's a weather desklet. I wonder what that's like. Just a monitor, thermometer. So yeah, it looks like you got lots of cool things you can kind of just stick on your desktop. Nice. Then we have extensions. Is that like extensions you have in Gnome, maybe? I don't know. Go to download and see what our options are. Go ahead and hit yes there. Okay. Yeah, these are nice. Hopefully these extensions don't break the way they do in Gnome when there's an update. Watermark, cube, smart panel, flipper, wobbly windows. Wow, how cool. Gotta get that. All right. So, wow, this is really nice. Okay, I like this extensions thing here. Lots of choices. Cool. And we have our general settings here. Our VSync. Disable compositing for full screen. Enable timer. So yeah, I guess I would just kind of stay with all these defaults from what I know. Hot corners, like you have in Plasma. I like that these are disabled by default. That's cool. So they're not kind of taking you by surprise and bothering you right at the get-go. And you can go ahead and enable these as you wish. Show all workspaces, Windows, desktop, run a command. So nice, good options there. Typically I don't use the hot corners, but they're a good thing to have. And here you can set your languages. Speaks a different language, that's handy. And then our notification settings. Pretty standard stuff. Good. Online accounts, so you can integrate with things like Google and Facebook, Microsoft. So that's always a good thing. Like it. Here's our panel settings, so we can kind of tweak our panel down below. And speaking of panel, when I had to pause when my heater came on, I took a closer look at panel. I'm going to back out of here real quick because it really kind of bugged me on how to move these things. And after I took a second look, it literally took me less than a minute to figure out what I was doing wrong. And I'm just going to share that with you real quick. If I go in here to edit mode, we turn that back on for the panel. Before I dragged this guy, and it didn't work, but that was just my own fault. If you drag it over, you'll notice there's an X that appeared in the middle as I'm dragging. I assume that was just a cursor. But actually that X means that you can't drop it there, but you can drop it here. Or I could come over here, and if I move over far enough, I can drop it there. See how the X changed into a hand and an arrow. So like if I wanted it in the middle, I could just drop it there, and there it is. And then we would just jump out of edit mode, and it would stay in the middle. So easy peasy. You know, it just took me, like I said, literally less than a minute, probably 30 seconds, and I just, you know, it just came to me. So, but still, you know, it's good that you see the process of, you know, how you figure things out as you go. And then here's our default system settings, our preferred apps. So these, Nemo is our default file manager. Chromium is our default browser. So we have our option to select here what we want as default. And then our documents. And I see WPS Writer there, so WPS Office obviously installed that we selected from the beginning. Then we have privacy settings, and those are nice. So we can remember recently accessed, never forget old files, and the number of days, and check connectivity for internet. That's always a plus. And then here's your screensaver settings. So you can set your delay here, 15 minutes, an hour, never. Typically I use never. Lock the computer. That's nice that that's off by default. You know, in a home setting, it's kind of irritating that it locks and then you got to sign in. If you're using it in the workplace or somewhere where you have people around, you don't want them on your computer, then you can turn it on. Lock the computer after the screensaver starts. And you can even set the delay. I think a delay is kind of nice. If I was going to use locking, I'd want to have probably 2 seconds. And then you have your startup applications. So these are system settings, additional settings that you can set here. But yes, it looks like you can turn off certain features on and off right here. So that's nice to see. And then our windows, buttons layout and all that you can set, minimize, and then your different actions, your title bar and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of standard stuff. Actually, I missed this behavior key here. You got your Windows focus and moving and resizing. So that's all good. All right. And then window tiling. So it looks like we have tiling options here and snapping and all that, which is enabled by default. Cool. Workspaces. So we have workspace on screen display. Nice. So I guess if we were going to switch our workspaces, then, you know, we'd have some kind of notification. Excellent. And then we have our hardware settings, Bluetooth, which I installed, but being on a virtual environment is probably not going to show me anything because I don't think I would have Bluetooth features enabled here. And then we have our disk stuff. So that's cool. I like that. You know, you can look at our disk information right here. Nice. All right. And so we could unmount these partitions, delete them. Wow. Okay. So you actually got some, you can actually modify your partitions all right in this setting. Wow. Typically I would open gparted or, you know, kpart, I think it is, the alternative. Huh, nice. Then where we were before to change our resolution for our display, that's our layout and our settings. So we can disable automatic screen rotation. That's nice that that feature is there though. If you had a portable device, you could rotate your screen when you rotate the device. Nice. Graphics tablet, which we don't have hooked up. Nice. Keyboard settings. These are all kind of your standard stuff here. Keyboard, mouse and touchpad, all your different options here. You can make your mouse left-handed if you're a lefty. Your network settings. Great. That's all good. Pretty standard stuff here. Your power management, printers, and that's all good. Then your sound settings and system info. Nice. All right. Your system info. This is kind of the similar info that you would get here in your terminal if you typed in neofetch, which I'm not sure if this is installed by default, but it is. Cool. So yeah, there's two ways you can look at your system info. Great. And we're running Cinnamon 4.8.5, which I believe is the most current. Bash for our shell. Our kernel 5.10.9. As of the time of this video, our most recent kernel. And if you remember during our install there, we also selected the LTS, which is an option that we could set to. Nice. And then our, like I said, our shell bash, and then Windows Manager is mutter. Mutta. What a mutta of a manager. Cool. Which I think is pretty standard for GNOME-based distros, I believe. Desktops. So very good. That is our system info. And then of course we have finally our administration stuff like our firewall, which is off by default. And then login window settings. I'm assuming this is probably where you can set your background pages and all that. Your appearance. Here you can put your default user image. So whatever we had for our avatar before, you can also have a separate image, I think, for your login. Nice. Gives you lots of options here. And of course, you can add in your own base in there as well, your own custom one. Very good then. And then these are other things that you can have showing up in your login panel. So you can get pretty fancy if you like. We'll close out of there. And then our users and group settings. And of course, this is different than our login where we had set all this guy. So here you can create a new user if you like, set up new groups. So this is all good stuff that can kind of keep you out of the command line if you're a little bit allergic to it. And if you click on it, of course, you can also edit some things in here, like change your picture like we did before, and change your account type. So if I didn't trust myself, I could make myself standard. And then our default group, of course, would be wheel. Okay. Oh, that seems to take care of that. All right, those are our system settings. And here in our terminal, you know, I might just kind of tweak that a little bit. Actually, it doesn't look bad the way it is, really, but traditionally, I kind of like the dark background with the white letters. So if I just jump in here and go to colors, could uncheck use colors from system theme. Could look at our default here and select something. White on black. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of the way I like a terminal. Oh, cool. And since I'm on the terminal, I wonder if they have yay on here. Check this out. And it looks like they do. Actually, I should have just yayed for an option here. Wow. Okay, cool. Okay, nothing to do. That's awesome. So yeah, like if I was going to do yay for htop, and there we are. So there's a difference between yay and Pacman. You know, for those of you that might be new to Arch, Pacman really focuses on your community repositories, and yay will include your AUR. So sometimes, you know, you might want to install something and maybe you want to use the command line to look for something and install it. And if you use Pacman, it may not be available in the community repository, so it'll show you that there's no results available. However, with yay, if it doesn't exist in your community, then it'll show here that it would be in the AUR. And so for example, with htop, here we have our first setting here, extra or community. You know, you can get it right from your community. And of course, number one would be our choice if we wanted to install it again. However, one thing I'd like to note is if you get results, you use yay and you get results for both community and AUR, I would recommend selecting the community one first, you know, before you would go with AUR, unless you have some special reason you want to get it out of the AUR, like you wanted to use the Git version, for example. And the reason I say that is because when you select something out of the AUR, then it's got to be built. So it will automatically build your application for you, which is no big deal really, but it takes a little bit longer to install through the AUR because it's got to build it from source. And sometimes that's not really much of a difference, but other times some things can take a long time to build. So, you know, you could be waiting a while. Whereas if you had the community option, you could have got it installed a lot quicker. So that's why I would recommend that you install the community first. And also if you want to install multiple things in here, let's say you wanted htop, but you also liked, htop temperature, you know, let's say you wanted that, even though it's out of date, and maybe you wanted a couple other things. You can separate those by spaces. So I could say I want to install number 1, hit space, and then number 6, which is your htop temperature. And then if you hit enter, it'll go ahead and install both. And that kind of works the same way with Pacman as well. And since I just hit yay and then htop, it kind of gave me a gazillion different choices, you know. And this is why you see other options here like htop temperature, vim git, and all that, because it kind of used the keyword to find all the variations. That would be equivalent to using Pacman -s and then small s, uppercase and small s, and then htop. And then it shows you other variations. So if you're not quite sure the name of something, you can do that. And then in Pacman, it'll show you other options here, like bash top and so forth, and vtop. And yay kind of does that too by default if you don't use the -uppercase s. Otherwise, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can just simply do yay -uppercase s and then htop, and then it'll be more specific to what you're looking for, which here is htop. Yeah, just a little 101 on htop, and for you guys that are new to Arch, thought I'd throw that in there. Let's look at our menu. Wow, this is a nice looking menu. I really like this. We have the sidebar, which I really like sidebars on menus. And it looks like we have kind of our favorites here, like Firefox and our software add remove. So if you want to use the GUI and remove software and add it and all that, right here, we would just use our search bar up here in the upper left corner if you want to look for something. All right, it doesn't look like you can add the AUR in this one. So let me just close that real quick. That was called software, but I believe we would have our standard one in here as well, which would be, let's see, under maybe administration, we have add remove software. So if you want both listings, yeah, here we go. This is more our standard PAMAC here. And again, you can search right here. And this should have the AUR enabled by default. So let's just do this mono develop, and there we got some choices here. Mono develop bin, version control bin. So yeah, nice. Stable 8.4, nice. I would probably try installing that first to see if it worked. If it didn't, then I would go with this guy here, probably, auto develop bin. So great, we know that AUR is installed by default. If you want to turn that on and off, that would just be in here if you ever had a change of mind. You just go here and select the AUR and you could turn it off right there. And you could also change your directory where you want the temp files to be. So if you wanted it in your home partition and if it was on a separate partition, then you could do it there. Great. So add remove software, nice. So let's explore a little bit on this menu. Okay, so our first choice here is all applications. So it just shows you everything if you just want to do that. Of course, you have your search up here too. So if you want to find something like Kdenlive, got your standard search bar, which is one of my favorite ways. Under accessories, we got our archive manager, calculator. Wonder what that looks like. All right, so we have our basic mode. Wow, all kinds of modes. This is cool. Advanced mode for all you super geniuses like me. Very good. And then that's that disk partitioner thing that we were in before. That's really nice. HP device manager, which is really great. I like that. For me, that's a plus. Then we have our default document viewer here, X-Reader, fonts, Play on Linux, which we installed in the beginning. RebornOS Fire, what is that? Oh, nice. Okay. So here we got RebornOS customization. So we could actually change our display manager here from one to the other, Light DM or STDM. Nice. I like that. Then, ooh, check this out. Desktop environments. So we can add more environments right from here. It makes it so easy peasy. How cool is that? So there's our budgie. We wanted to add that to our selection. We would simply select the desktop from login screen. Deepen. How cool. So look at all these choices. Enlightenment, Gnome, i3. And notice how Gnome has no desktop icon. KDE Plasma. Nice. LXQt, Mate, OpenBox, and XFCE. That's really great. So it would be just as simple as hitting a desktop and clicking install, and it would add another desktop environment for us to choose from at login. That is really neat. I like that. System tasks. So this is something here that if we had to do some kind of maintenance, clear cache, clean journal, remove unnecessary programs, rank mirrors. Wow, I like it. And some nice repair options here. Save recover programs, reinstall Grub, or rebuild it. Either one. You can downgrade packages. Wow, that's really nice. Or remove a package but leave the dependencies. And then we got our add-ons. Wow, an install and box. I like that. That's cool. I wonder if that actually will install Android image as well. Nbox is cool. If you wanted to play some games that you would normally get from the App Store on an Android phone, you can install Nbox, and it's an Android emulator. You know, that can be kind of hard to set up. And once you install it, then you need to get an Android image and then connect it. Out of curiosity, I just kind of wonder if maybe it kind of automates all that for you. But that's nice to know that's in there. That's cool. And Control Mycroft. Here we have tools, Pacman settings, kernel manager. Let's see if that LTS kernel is in there that we added as install. So this is nice. This makes changing kernels a lot easier. And I see it's got the Zen option. That's cool. You know, I could see myself selecting that. Harden kernel, and there's our LTS. That's what we enabled at install. And of course, by default, it's given us the latest kernel as of the time of this video, 5.10.9. Very nice. I like it. And so here we got our manage kernels. So it looks like, wow, you can really, a lot of options. Go all the way back to 4.2 on your Zen, and your standard Linux, probably the same. That's impressive. I gotta tell you, that makes your whole kernel management a lot easier if you wanted to change, or if you needed to. Mac software, I'm assuming that'll open the launcher. Yeah, your add remove guy here, not launcher. And then Stacer. Very cool. So those are nice programs to have at your quick disposal. Nice. Okay. Then we got Wormhole. What is Wormhole? Wormhole is an extremely secure, private, and open source alternative to AirDrop, or any file sharing service, really. And unlike AirDrop, Wormhole allows you to share a file or directory with any PC in the world. Anyways, here is the GitHub page if you're interested. I like it. Okay, never used it before, but that looks like something that might be worth exploring sometime. And then roll back my system. So I guess if you really hose something beyond what you really want to mess with, you can select a date previous and roll it back. So that's really cool. Or you can upgrade to your current packages again. Maybe I don't want to click that because it might get me committed to something. So that's nice. And then the settings button here. Select your favorite terminal. Okay. Just going to exit out of there. Right, so now we know what that is. RebornOS Fire is really a custom app tailored to Reborn. Very worthwhile. I like that a lot. I got to give big thumbs up for that addition to Reborn. Good job. And then let's see what our standard text editor is. It is gedit. Cool. Okay, yeah, I remember gedit. That's a good text editor. And then, of course, we got our screenshot software. Very nice, standard in there. USB image writer, that's always important to have. So if you're needing to copy an ISO, you got your image writer that you can use. And virtual keyboard and wine tricks, because we installed wine at install. So that's great. Wine tricks is important. And these are all the games that we added in install. Super Tux 2, Super Tux Kart. Wonder if that's like a clone of Mario Kart or something. Neat. Mahjong, Lutris. All right. Very cool. Extreme Tuck Racer. And then under graphics, these were options that we selected too for installing graphics programs when we were doing our install. Darktable, which is really nice. That's equivalent to, I think, like Adobe. Yeah, the name escapes me now. Darkroom, I think maybe it was called, Adobe. Got our document viewer. GIMP, which is always an essential. Gthumb, Photos, Rapid Photo, and Raw Therapy, which I've heard really cool things about that. I'm going to have to explore that sometime. I would probably add Inkscape in here as well because that's a must-have for me. Very good. Then Internet, we got our Chromium and our Firefox. Firefox was the default during our installer, and I added Chromium. Then we have Steam in here because we also installed Play on Linux. And then we have Office here. So we installed WPS Office at install. Nice to see that showed up. And so moving beyond other, we got our programming, which nothing's in there, but I would probably add my usual stuff that I like. Then our sound and video stuff here. And a lot of nice standard things here. Here's Kdenlive. These are things that we added at this install. And I would add in Shotcut because that's what I prefer as my video editor. Kdenlive is my next favorite choice. And then under administration, looks like this is kind of our standard administrative things. Dconf editor, that's good to see in there. Disk usage analyzer, nice. I like it. So you can kind of get an idea of what we're using here. We still have our U drive plugged in, I see. So this is the actual virtual drive that we installed our OS on. And it was pretty small. I made it like 40 some gigs, I think. But it's showing that 37 is used up and 13.8 is available. Nice. And we even have our home folder. That's really nice. That's a nice breakdown of what's being used. So a lot of what we're using right now is cache, which isn't that much. Pictures, 6.6 megabytes. This is really nice. That's a nice breakdown to kind of see. And then here's our round chart here, where you can change that into a different format if you can relate to that better. That's very good. I like that. Very good feature. Impressive. All right. And here's HTOP. We can just launch that real quick. And we're still at only 806 megs, so that's impressive. Seems very resource friendly, this Cinnamon, especially in the spin anyway, the Reborn OS. And then we have our system manager, which is kind of equivalent to Windows Task Manager, I think it's called. So here's all our processes, resources, file systems, and my video stuff. Okay, and then we got our time shift, which kind of works hand in hand with the other utility that we were there, setting our previous restore points that we were in earlier. And then I guess I would just go with the default. So there's our time shift, and we could utilize time shift. Now it's active. I like time shift. It's a nice protection against hosing your system. So then, yeah, this other stuff is pretty much we've gone through in our panel. Same with the preferences. We've kind of been through all these already. And then our places, and then recent files. Nice. All right. So that really kind of takes us through everything. And I got to tell you, I'm really liking this. Reborn OS is really an impressive distro here. It's really clean, it's beautiful, it's set up nice. Tweaks in there that allows you to make things easy, like adding those desktops and your kernels and all that. And it's really a beautiful environment too. Especially if I was coming off of Windows and going into Linux for the first time, I would be totally comfortable with this environment for sure. And it just looks great. Even have our window previews, I like that. So it really is just a gorgeous environment. I'm really impressed with Cinnamon. I think Cinnamon is really beautiful. I wish I could think of something negative or critique it somehow to not sound so biased, because I really don't find any issue. I mean, I guess if there was only one thing that I would improve upon would be putting the wallpaper in. Because as you remember in the live version, we had this Easter Island wallpaper, which was really cool. And then when we actually installed our system, it wasn't there. So it was missing. But that's not a deal killer by any stretch of the imagination. That's not a big deal. I think that was just a simple oversight by the developers, and they'll probably just correct that in the next ISO that comes out, which could be tomorrow. I gotta tell you, this is really great. I give it an A+. Like I said before, the double thumbs up. And I hope this review was helpful. If it was, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe. We'd love to have you here in the family. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.